Hey out there, all you guys and gals. Today we're going to take a look at a video from a gentleman who'd like to share some of his thoughts on anti-feminism.
Hey folks, how you doing? So, I was tasked by the Quiet Atheist earlier today, it being Thursday afternoon, to comment on the hashtag message to anti-feminists. This actually was a difficult one for me.
I sincerely hope you didn't hurt yourself.
Because although I pay attention to feminists a little bit, I don't pay attention to anti-feminists. In fact, I routinely dismiss anti-feminists.
Because the best way to speak from a position of authority on a topic is to ignore and routinely dismiss one half of the argument. Sure, that makes sense. Due to the fact that you routinely ignore anti-feminists, I feel that it is my privilege to enlighten you. So in order to help you understand the debate, in the context of today, I'm going to need to skip a bit forward in your video to address a comment that you made towards the end, and then we can pick up here and continue with our pleasant discussion.
I mean, yeah, sure, there are elements of feminism that have gone off the rails on the crazy train. They got nuts. But the road to wisdom is paved with excess, and right now there are some elements of feminism that are being excessive. But the base tenets of feminism are actually pretty good.
This is a perfect example of the no true Scotsman fallacy, and it is exactly why there are anti-feminists in today's society. When we do a proper response video to feminists, we actually reply to specific feminists. We respond to the words that they are actually saying and the actions that they have taken, because those words and those actions are the ones that they are responsible for. We don't hold them responsible for the words and actions of people long dead, or some generic group like feminists or anti-feminists. This allows us to correctly critique those who have gone off the crazy train, as you put it. Many people, such as yourself, will just critique a group. They use this tactic because it makes criticism easy. But anti-feminists, as rational human beings, don't hold people accountable for events taken outside of their control. Anti-feminists hold people accountable for their dialogues and actions, not some ideal that comes from being associated with a definition. Because the dictionary definition of feminism isn't what this radical third wave of feminism is really preaching. They devoutly espouse their ideologies, but are unable to articulate clear or actionable goals. They want everyone to play on an equal playing field, but they also call for special treatment on that playing field. Feminists have yet to explain why the playing field is uneven. They just want you to believe them when they tell you that it is. The only thing they seem clear on is that they want more, and they will subjugate men in any way, shape, or form to get that goal accomplished. So now that we have that cleared up, please continue. What was wrong with anti-feminists?
What I came up with is anti-feminists don't seem to have a sense of history.
Well, that's a pretty vague and general topic of contention. I do hope your entire argument isn't based around this thesis. Would you care to elaborate?
Let me try to re-elaborate. Anyways, let me try to, explain this a little bit, You go back a couple hundred years ago, feminists were trying to, do things like allow women to just do something else besides be barefoot and pregnant.
Now, are you talking about feminism as a general concept, or are you referring to the three different waves of feminism? I don't want to make any assumptions here, so I'll just cover all the bases. The roots of feminism can be traced all the way back to ancient Greece, circa 800 BC, which lasted about 300 years. This would mean that feminism isn't hundreds of years old, it's actually thousands. But if you were referring to the three waves of feminism, the first is typically associated with the time period between the 1830s and the early 1900s. During this wave, women fought to gain political power. One of the tools they sought to achieve this end was the right to vote. By increasing their political affluence, they desired to influence the political agenda, which revolved around issues such as sexual, reproductive, and economic matters. The second wave of feminism, which took place in the 1960s through the 80s, was focused on equality in the workplace, family rights, and reproductive rights. Many feminists also had strong ties with the civil rights movements going on at the time. This would put your historical time frame at a very generous 150 years ago, so that still isn't hundreds of years. So either you're just sort of making this up as you go, or one of us has their historical facts wrong.
Because history is largely written by men, for men, in favor of men. They wanted to set up the world in favor of themselves to protect the delicate little flowers that are women.
And how does that have any relevancy in today's debate?
It comes a point in time where women wanted to have a voice in government. They wanted the suffragette movement. They wanted to have the vote. And anti-feminists did not want women to have the vote because women weren't, intelligent enough to vote. They just couldn't understand the complex, politics, and, which of course wasn't true.
Okay, so your criticism of anti-feminists isn't that they lack historical knowledge, it's that historically men were assholes. Well, that's fine. It's a very different argument from anti-feminists don't have a sense of history, but honestly, I don't expect you to pick up on the finer nuances of the English language. Essentially, your argument is cobbled together through clunky inductive reasoning. Specific people who were anti-feminists were evil. Therefore, all people who are anti-feminists are evil.
Women eventually got the vote. And it goes along to various other things, working out into actually having jobs outside of the house, wearing clothes that expose more than the ankle, various things. The feminist movement wanted to push towards equality, and it was the anti-feminists that pushed back.
And this is where your inductive reasoning begins to fail. The first wave of feminism achieved their goal and got the right to vote. The second wave of feminism achieved their goal and got jobs outside of the house and clothes showing more than their ankle? Really? What you're failing to indicate is what feminism is actually fighting for today. Moreover, you have yet to indicate why anti-feminists are evil for trying to push them back. The problem is that because you have routinely tuned out one half of the argument, you have no context for what the current debate is even about.
This goes right on up through, like I said, having jobs, the sexual revolution, equality. And always along this time in history, the feminists were pushing for equality and the anti-feminists were saying no. Nothing changes. We don't want anything that changes. We have been just fine with women not having the vote. We have been just fine with women not being able to have jobs. Or if there are working jobs, only if they're single. And only jobs suitable for the delicate thing that is a woman. Women can't do this. No changes.
Still nothing on the current debate?
And throughout history, this has been on the wrong side of history, really. I mean, you look at a lot of the complaints anti-feminists have these days. Why men die earlier because they work such dangerous jobs and they work this job and that, and we die earlier and we burn our bodies out sooner than women do. Well, yeah. For hundreds of years, you kept saying women can't have jobs. Women need to stay barefoot and pregnant. They need to stay in the house. They need to raise the children.
Are you fucking kidding me? You're making arguments that may have held water 100 years ago and applying them today as if we live in the exact same society? I still haven't even heard you attempt to legitimize this need for third wave feminism.
Men engineered this. I hear anti-feminists make the claim that women always get custody of children in divorce battles. Well, yeah. For hundreds of years, men kept pushing the idea that women are to raise children. Women are the nurturers. Women are the ones who are best at raising. And so, yeah. For hundreds of years, you created this environment, and now you're turning around and go, well, gee, women get the kids in a divorce? Of course they do.
For the most part, I'm just going to leave this statement alone, because there are individuals far more eloquent and knowledgeable on the topic than me. But I will say this. Once again, you've taken your inductive reasoning and used it as a justification to punish the son for the sins of the father, quite literally in this instance.
And all this leads up to the idea that anti-feminists just don't have an understanding of history. They don't understand that most of their problems are problems that have been engineered by men. So that would be my message to anti-feminists. Get a grip on history.
Please, stop looking to a past which does not reflect the present to find your answers. If your only argument is, historically, anti-feminists were wrong, then you have no place to discuss feminism or anti-feminism in today's current climate. The most upsetting part of this video for me was that I truly believe this gentleman was attempting to make an honest and sincere argument for what he believes feminism is. Unfortunately, because he conflates the past and the present, he doesn't have a clear understanding of some of the terrible people he's trying to defend. He seems like a reasonable fellow, if only he'd taken the responsible course of action and actually listened to what the feminists and the anti-feminists were saying, and not fallen into that trap of assuming that something was a certain way simply because of a dictionary definition. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a good night.